right, everybody. Bob Chick back with David Baye. I'm here at the FBI office in Atlanta, Georgia. The windbreaker is on, David, as you can see, and very official here. And be careful, my friend. We're coming for you.
What? What the hell are you wearing, guy? What?
It's my it's my Doherty hat. Now it's the FBI hat, so you can.
FBI hat. It looks very official.
Yeah, it is official.
It's,
You know, it's,
it looks like it, and the jacket too as well. The FBI issues jackets that say "chick" on them.
Yeah, well, they go by my nickname, but that's okay. But we'll get into that in a little while. But is that a rhyme or reason? Thought you'd get a kick out of that, bro. All right, let's get updated, my friend. When last we met, lots of stuff in the bodybuilding world coming up this week. My old friend Ronnie Coleman has reemerged on video, and definitely not the Ronnie we're used to seeing, putting up outrageous amounts of weights and all that stuff. But give me some update, David.
Sean Ray got a phone call from Ronnie Coleman.
Oh, do tell.
Well, as you know, there's a discussion going on in the forums, and basically what it stemmed from is Ronnie made an Instagram post, and I don't know if you saw this, but basically what it is Ronnie made this Instagram post, just kind of highlighting the fact that he had surgery. Said, I just got through an 11-hour back surgery.
Right.
I've got pins, screws, whatever. Do I have any regrets? And you can kind of feel where this is going, knowing Ronnie.
Sure.
And his answer to that was yes. His only regret is, back when he was shooting that Battle for the Olympia video, everybody remembers he was squatting 800 pounds. It was like 2 weeks out from the show.
Right.
He did it for 2. He said his only regret in regards to the surgery or his career decisions is that he had 4 in him and he only did 2. So obviously, Ronnie saying that the titles were worth what he went through at the time and what he's going through now. Sean kind of piped up and said, okay, we get that, you did what you did when you were competing, but you're still doing it. And so I don't know if it's just a matter of miscommunication between what Sean said and what Ronnie took it to be, but somebody let Ronnie know. Ronnie gave Sean a call, and according to Sean, the voicemail was like, man, this is Ronnie. You're going to say some bullshit like that? Call me first.
Lightweight.
Yeah, and Sean's got nothing but respect for Ronnie. And like I said, I think Sean's point of the discussion wasn't that Ronnie was lifting these crazy weights while he was competing. It's hard to argue that that isn't worth it when you have 8 Mr. Olympia titles.
Certainly, yeah.
It's the fact that here we are, almost 10 years removed from him competing. He's, I believe, 52 years old, and he's still just hammering it heavy, old school. And I think Sean says, at this point,
sure,
there's no need to beat up your body like that anymore. And so that's where this discussion back and forth originated from. It's been a hot topic on the forums.
Well, let's get real here. Listen, nobody's going to ever call out Ronnie for doing anything. The guy won 8 Olympias. He's one of the greatest of all time. Anybody that saw the Unbelievable video and any other ones that came around that time, even as a bodybuilder, you look at that stuff and you're just amazed at the strength that this guy had, especially close to a show.
2 weeks out. Most
yeah.
guys have a hard time benching 225
well,
2 weeks out.
That's not up for debate. I don't even think Sean debates that. But Sean does have a valid point in saying, what are you doing now? You're 52 years old. Okay, those days are long gone. You've got both hips replaced. You've had numerous other surgeries. Why would you be in there blasting away now? Listen, we all train. I train, Sean trains, and all of us guys that have retired and hung them up still train. Am I out there trying to break world records? No. Listen, that day is done. And, I train to be in some kind of shape now and to look the part. So I'm sure that's where Sean was coming from. But it does bring up some interesting questions as to, when is enough? And was that necessary?
Well, I guess the when is enough question, that's up to the individual. It's obviously it was Ronnie's lifestyle for years and years and years. And sometimes just because you retire from the stage doesn't mean that you want to retire from a certain training style.
Right.
So, this is a point that I think I could probably debate myself on back and forth and have a pretty good internal argument. I see where Ronnie's coming from. That was his mentality his whole career. Just because he retired from the stage doesn't mean that he wants to change his training style, rather. He wants to still get after it, really push himself in the gym. But on the flip side of this argument, he's in rough shape. If you've seen him at the shows walking and stuff like that, He's got a limp, and nobody's really sure as far as how he's going to be after this surgery. Just to make this crystal clear, I'm in the same boat as everybody else. I have the utmost respect for Ronnie. My personal opinion, and I might get some blowback on this because people say you can't predict the future. I don't think we'll ever see anybody like Ronnie again. I think what we saw from Ronnie in 99, 98, 2000, I don't think that would ever be repeated. I think you take a 1999 Ronnie Coleman and you put him on the Olympia stage now, and they have him hit a front relax and a front double bicep and maybe a back shot, and they send him off because he just smoked the whole crowd. But it's when you look at the other guys that were in that era or whatever, most of them are doing pretty good. I mean, Dorian is still in really good shape. Kevin, Sean. A lot of these guys, Gaspari, Labrada, Lee Haney looks like he's 25 years old.
Right.
So a lot of these guys that have kept themselves in really good shape obviously have kept up with the bodybuilding and healthy living lifestyle, but just aren't beating themselves up to the point that they were or when they were training. And that's where this discussion goes back and forth. Is what Ronnie's doing worth it? And I guess worth it becomes up to nobody but Ronnie.
Well, all true. We wish Big Ron the best, and hope he'll be at the Arnold as we're not too far away, David. We're into February now. Obviously, first week in March, celebrating the Arnold's return, of course, which starts the season off. We're all looking forward to that. Of course, we've got some great discussions coming up the next few weeks. We'll be getting into the lineups, some of the new guys, Cody Montgomery coming in, and some of the old guard like Kai Green that's making his triumphant return to the stage. Now, Kai hasn't been on stage in a year and a half. I think that's to be noted because that's a long time away from the IFBB Pro stage. And much like other sports, they always tell you, taking time off is one thing. Getting back at that level is difficult.
Yeah, well, the other thing people have to remember about Kai and quote-unquote taking time off is he was dieting for the Olympia. I mean, we saw pictures of him a couple weeks out.
Right.
So when you talk about taking time off from giving your body a break from the rigors of dieting and competition and stuff like that, he hasn't had off for a year and a half. He dieted and got very close to competition shape for that Olympia. So from him competing standpoint, yeah, we haven't seen him for a while, but it's not like he gave his body a year and a half break. He was almost ready for the Olympia. So, that all being said, we know what, even an off Kai Green is still phenomenal. So I think I speak for everybody when I say we're pretty confident he's going to bring something pretty amazing to the stage.
Well, Justin Compton's pretty phenomenal himself in his short-lived career thus far onto the IFBB Pro stage. And then you got Cedric McMillan and the rest of the crew. Like I say, we'll get into more of this as we get closer to the Arnold with some in-depth discussion and breakdown, of course, as we always do. And then, of course, the huge question mark surrounding this Arnold. Will the posing round being scored come into play? How will that affect the placings, or will it be business as usual?
Man, I just had this conversation with a buddy of mine at the gym the other day because he thought it was great. He's like, "Oh, it's great. They're going to judge posing," and I got in the same argument that we had. What's entertainment versus quality posing versus how do you judge it? And I just like I said, I'll go back to it every time. I think it's great that they're encouraging that these professionals entertain the crowd and put forth a good effort into their posing routine. I think it should be done a first, second, and third place prize money for the best routines. I don't think it should come into the judging for the actual placings whatsoever. To me, at the end of the day, it's a physique competition. If you're displaying your physique properly in the mandatories during prejudging, and then if they rejudge at finals and you're displaying it again during that, that's how a bodybuilding show should be judged. I personally don't feel a posing round should be judged at all. So that's my stance. You're going to have a hard time getting me to switch my opinions.
Well, I agree with that, as you know, and we'll have many more discussions about this. I don't think it's going to be the be-all, end-all as everybody believes. I do believe it may come into play quicker than people think, as, you got the Kai Greens, and then, of course, you got the Cedric McMillans, completely polar opposites when it comes to posing. If it's real close physique-wise, I'll be curious to see if that actually has any play into the judging process, or, like I say, if it's business as usual and it doesn't really, it's still a physique show. Like I say, the jury's going to still be out. Speaking of things that I don't think are going to be moving mountains anytime soon, Dave, I'd be remiss if I didn't use that expression one more time.
I would be remiss.
Yes. Classic physique. Now, again, we all know it's new. We've talked about this. At least we started some dialogue. We're starting to see some pictures out there and some video of some of the very first classic physique competitions. I got to be honest, bro. I'm sticking with my original. I ain't sold on this. I don't. Again, I'm not against it per se, but I do think what people are looking for and what's actually going to come out are two different. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what it looks like to me is a bunch of guys on stage trying to imitate the old days, and it looks weird.
Yeah, I tell you what, I think when we get to a professional level, I think if you were to take a handful of these guys that were your top guys in men's physique, Sadiq Hadzovic, I think Jason Poston is sticking with men's physique, but there's a handful of these top pros. I think when they throw on those classic posing routine trunks and hit their classic poses, I think it's going to look really good. The local level right now is a complete mess, and it's a mess because these guys are basically. I've been making this argument for 2 years, and I've been at the Arnold Classic every year has classic physique. And what I've tried telling the guys on the boards is when you see these classic physique divisions, just because somebody fits into a height and a weight category does not by any means mean they have a classic structure. None whatsoever. You could have somebody who fits in that height weight category that is shaped like a bottle, Arnold's bottle shaped thing, or like a beanpole straight up and down. And the conditioning that we're seeing, this is the other thing, that the conditioning we've seen at a couple of these shows, other than some of the overall winners, is probably actually worse than men's physique and worse than bodybuilding. So these guys are just shooting to get into a weight class, and the conditioning isn't where it needs to be. The posing, this is the thing that bothers me. The posing so far at these classical physique shows, and there's only been a few of them, is absolutely atrocious. These guys look like a bunch of drunk toddlers who haven't, you get a little kid out that, when you're trying to get the little kid, show me a pose, and they do stuff like this. That's what that looks like. And that looks bad enough when you're trying to hit regular bodybuilding mandatories. If somebody hits a front double bicep and they're all like arms down, lower than parallel, it looks bad. Now, when you're trying to hit a classical pose and you can't hit it, to me, the most basic thing of the classical pose, if you're going to hit an archer, if you watch, look, there's my opportunity to flex.
David, don't hide away when you hit that shot. See, like when you just did that,
it's making a
like
straight line. Your arm should make a straight line. It should always make a straight line. That's as basic as it gets. And you got these guys like, it's terrible. The posing in the pictures I saw from this last weekend's men's classical physique, the guys weren't in shape. The posing was awful. And like I said, when you're trying to pull off classic poses and you don't know how to pose, it looks that much worse. It's like when somebody takes like a 1993 like baby blue Suburban or something and if they would try to jazz that thing up, put some rims on it or make it look nice or give it a custom paint job. That would be worse than just leaving it as is. And that's what you're getting with classic physique. You're getting physiques that aren't that great as of right now, that are looking terrible with the posing. I don't like it, but on the positive side, I have all the confidence that when you get to an IFBB level, you're going to have some really good physiques. They're going to know how to pose, and they're going to set the example for the amateurs at all levels.
Well, David, speaking of which, I got to ask you about 23-year-old cars in a few minutes, but that's a whole separate piece of business, which is kind of amusing to me. But I got to give a quick shout out. My old buddy, Kevin Levrone, the Maryland Muscle Machine, has got his own pro show in Poland that's coming up next week, actually this week coming up. So obviously, that's going to be really starting the year off because that's the first pro show that we got.
Yeah, we're used to starting the year off with the Arnold Classic. One of the biggest shows of the year is the kickoff, kind of like NASCAR and the Daytona 500. Kevin with the actual Teddy, the guy who owns MD Poland, is a co-promoter of this show with Kevin. They decided to have it the week before the Arnold in hopes that they'd get some of the big names that are doing the Arnold, get a handful of the European guys, and it's worked. Kevin's got he's got Johnny Jackson going. He's got Branch Warren. I believe he's got Cedric McMillan, Tony Freeman, Josh Lenarowitz. Wow. I believe the Clarence DeVis, the William Bonac lookalike that just doesn't get in shape, is going to be doing it. There's a couple of Eastern European guys. So it's going to be, for a first-year event, it's going to be a pretty big event. We're going to be there. I'm heading out next week, Wednesday. Sean's going to be there emceeing it. So MD's going to have full coverage of the show. Cool. But you had to expect that if you put Kevin Levrone's name on a show, it was going to do pretty good, and he's attracted some big names, and it's also going to be a nice preview for the Arnold for some of the bigger names as well.
All right. Well, we wish Kevin the best in his first venture as a promoter, putting that show out in Poland. And, of course, that's going to start things off for our 2016 season for the IFBB. Of course, the Olympia, all eyes are on it, and all roads lead to it if you're in the IFBB.